I'm loving the country. I'm going to admit I'm from the northwest part of New Jersey near Pennsylvania, the Delaware Water Gap area. Very familiar. Grew up on that also with some Ozzy, Leonard Skinner. But this takes a different approach. You guys are doing something, I'm going to say that's, once again, country, but has a pop feel to it. It feels very fresh. It feels very new continuously in throughout your music, and almost not your traditional what country would be. Am I getting that correct?
Man, it's a big melting pot of a lot of things for us, honestly. We try not to. I mean, that's one of the toughest questions to answer, I think, in Nashville is, what does your music sound like? And, how do you describe something like that? But I mean, when it comes down to it, man, we're not trying to reinvent the wheel here. We're just creating music that we enjoy listening to, and the stuff that, influences it is, the stuff that I grew up on was Alan Jackson and Travis Tritt and a lot of those guys in the 90s. And then like the early Luke Bryan, early Jason Aldean, just really good, feel good songs. The live band thing, that's one thing we try to focus on. So, I mean, we're not really, trying to box ourselves into just a 90s country thing or pop country or anything like that. We're just out here doing what feels good and what we enjoy to do.
It's been said that both of you have the same work ethic. What does that mean to you, Matt?
Yeah, very much so. The great thing about Chris and I is, how we became Southerland was so organic. It wasn't some record label person saying, hey, you and you should be together. We just kind of morphed into it. And the thing that has made it work and made it work for as long as it has is, my strength's his weakness. His weakness are my strength. We know how to work with each other. We know how to kind of be two CEOs of the same business. And I know a lot of people say this, but this is truly the fact of, in all the years that we have been singing together, never once have we disagreed on anything. We kind of work very, very well hand in hand. And I think the first part, like you said, with the music is we both know the kind of country music we love, and we know the kind of country music that we want to hang our hat on, whether it works or not. And our vision for that was perfectly in line with each other. So creatively, we're in the same lane, and as buddies outside of the business, we hang out on the weekends, drink cold beer, and man, it really just works. It really does.
Chris, with the connection that both you and Matt have, do you believe that this stems not just within this lifetime, but does it really feel that you two have some type of really great spiritual connection that may go across other timelines and dimensions?
Man, I don't know. That's a heavy one, Steven. That's a big question, man. You know what? I think it has a lot to do with the way we grew up. My dad, he passed away in 2009, but he was in law enforcement for 30 years. He was actually the active sheriff in my little hometown of Wilkes County. He was the active sheriff for 8 years, and Matt, he comes from a military background, or I think his dad was in the Army, if I'm
Air Force
correctly. Air Force. He was in the Air Force. Sorry, and he works for police department there. His mom, she's been in law enforcement in some capacity. So, we have a lot of similarities just from day one. And when we first met back in 2016, we just kind of hit it off, man. Just became really good buddies. And within the first week, we were out playing all over the place. Literally, we played our first show within the first like 4 or 5 days of knowing each other. So, I mean, it was just. We're just friends from the beginning and immediately started playing with each other.
Matt, It's been known that you two met through Ray Fulcher. What was that meeting like? Can you give us a description, describe to us, what did that feel like to you when you and Chris first met?
Yeah, absolutely. So Ray is by far my best friends. I actually live with Ray. And it was, if you're familiar with Nashville and how kind of like the new to town writing scene goes, how essentially it is, you go out to songwriter rounds and bars or shows, and you meet everybody you can meet. The name of the game in the music business is who you know, and it's networking. So I met Ray through some mutual friends, and obviously me and Ray became real good buddies. And just randomly one day he texted me and said, "Hey man, I'm going in to write with this guy named Chris Rogers." He goes, "We had a third, but now they had to drop out. Do you want to come write? Because I think we all could write something good together." Well, naturally, you want to take every opportunity you can get. Absolutely, I'm going to come write. And to kind of like piggyback on the question you asked, Chris, I don't know if there's any kind of divine intervention or what have you, but I can tell you there's just people you meet in life that you just know right off the bat, like, hey, this person, we're going to get along. It's almost seamless. And so I showed up to Chris's house, and we sat down to write, and we wrote a song. And there was just a connection in the room between us and Ray. And like Chris said, they were playing I think it was a songwriter around Florida that weekend. And, I somehow managed to weasel my way into playing that show with them. We just hit it off. Like even not writing music or playing music, we had the same interests as far as sports, as far as like Chris said, our family backgrounds. And it just seemed like, hey, I just met this guy, but I do feel like I went to high school with him, and that's how it all kind of started the ball rolling, I guess you would say. This is well before we were a duo. So.
What does it feel now, Matt, to be a duo? Is that the best reference? Because you two feel like family. So do you feel that how you're being seen in the world and how you're being received, do you truly believe, Matt, that people understand the narrative and context of who Southern is and who you and Chris are?
Man, I will tell you this. I joke with Chris all the time. I do not know how solo artists do it. It is so much mental gymnastics and so much work and so much ups and downs and lefts and rights in this business that I don't know how one person does it by themselves. And man, I'll tell you, yes, we kind of have the perception, I guess you would say now, is like where you see Matt, you see Chris, where you see Chris is where you see Matt, or in conversations, it always comes up. But I can tell you, man, I don't know what I would do without being a duo. I really don't. I mean, as far as growing in the business and growing your brand and trying to figure out how to navigate the world of music is a lot. And it's a daily 24-hour-a-day job. And, man, I'll tell you, I wouldn't want it any other way. Because the thing about when we were solo acts was, I'd like to fancy us both as decent singers and songwriters. And but there's so much more to it than that. I couldn't break away from the pact being a solo male artist, and Chris couldn't break away from the pact as a solo male artist. Even though we were considered ourselves pretty good, we just couldn't find a way to be unique. And so when we came together with the duo, it was almost like a rebirth. I mean, it was everything just started falling in line, and we started figuring it out and growing together as like co-business owners. And I can tell you, man, I actually really I like the perception of the duo, because I think we're really authentic in who we are. What you see is what you get. What you hear is who we are. And that's, as far as country music goes, the ultimate goal and all we've ever wanted to do.